Shalom, shalom to all of my precious brothers and sisters out there. Those of you that know that you are his chosen, the apple of his eyes, the true Hebrews, I bring to you a special shalom. And to those of you that are waking up to realize that you are also his chosen, because your lineage comes from the African slave trade. Or if you are a Gentile brother and sister that is waking up and recognizing that we are not the supreme beings, and that those that have been oppressed among us are actually the true chosen people, I bring a special greeting to you too. I know I was before you earlier today, and that was pretty much a planned video that I've been, wanting to put out there before you. But today's word was very spontaneous, and just to further for me even what's happening. And when I see some things that bring confusion, I run to the feet of the Most High Yah, and I ask him. And so one of the things that I started to journey in confusion was when my Hebrew brothers and sisters were getting this coronavirus. But however, about a week or so ago, the Most High Yah brought me to Exodus, and he let me see that it wasn't until the third plague that he made a distinction between his people in the land of Goshen and, your ancestors, and then the Egyptians. So that means that those first plagues must have also done some damage or some effect to your ancestors. And I believe that's happening some now, because it also blurs the distinction between us Gentile Christians and you as blacks, because the level of understanding for the majority, if not, of my white evangelicals, is not deep enough to understand even the fact that if blacks are being cursed, remember there was you guys, his chosen, and those from Ham who were cursed, and us from Jephthah. That would bring some understanding to the confusion. But I also, when I read that, it brought some understanding that both of the plagues were affecting both your ancestors as well as the Egyptians, until the Most High Yah said, the third plague, I will make this distinction. And so that kind of covers the line of distinction right now, which also then those who really don't have the heart yet, or the desire to even hear what we are trying to say to them, they're going to stand up for Christianity that much more. And so I've even had some of my family members throw in my face that, see, even blacks are getting it, Dana, which is exactly what I'm bringing to you right now. It covers that line, because the Most High Yah, as you know, is going to bring forth this great divide. It's not Democrats, it's not Republicans. It is the Hebrews and the Gentiles. And especially those of us in America that have been 400 years oppressing the chosen people. So Christianity has to rise up. Trump is the man that Christianity has called upon, has devoted to, that is worshiping, to bring back the principles and the beauty of Christianity, which when you and I look into Christianity, we know it's a white supreme supremacist religion, a God that has ordained white supremacy. So now Trump has to bring back, Bibles being carried boldly to school. Bring back prayer in school. Bring back biblical teaching in school, to restore this nation to where it was before the Democrats or the liberals came and distorted it. But yet I have shared that when you look at the history of Christianity, nothing distorted Christianity. Christianity was distorted and evil from the very beginning because, again, it got its foundation from the Catholic Church of Catholicism in Rome. And that empire went down because their religion, just like Christianity, was all worshiping what they declared as the true God, but their behaviors and all of that were contrary to it. So President Trump is going to bring up Christianity that will seal the deal for his followers when the election comes in 2020. That individuals, you Gentiles, you evangelicals, are going to continue and have continually looked over the things that even your moral God in the Bible has said to you is wrong. For instance, I know an individual that their daughter put this white guy that was making fun of Trump with the accent and all of that type of stuff and was using some bad language. And this individual's mother called her up and scolded her for it as a Christian. The ironic thing is this man in the video said far less offensive things than Trump said out of his own mouth when he said, I will grab a woman's bump and I will blank, blank, blank. But see, he's protecting the God of white supremacy. And so as of right now, there is no way, shape, or form that my white evangelical Caucasian brothers or sisters believe for a moment that death and destruction, pain, suffering, loss, hunger, and thirst is coming their way. See, some of them are already getting a glimpse of what it means to bury your loved one without a appropriate homegoing. But see, that's just a taste of what we as Christians have done to our black brothers and sisters for 400 plus years, especially when we threw their bodies off the slave ships. And it says that the sharks used to follow the slave ships from Africa, the West Coast, to the United States because they were being fed along the way. Did any of our black brothers and sisters, our African brothers and sisters, get an appropriate burial? What about those in slavery times? What about those that were lynched after our church services? See, there's a distinction that is coming. And those who follow Christianity are going to rise up with Trump. Even in arrogance now, when we look at Franklin Graham coming on TV and having a commercial that his voice and what he was saying was just like his father, Billy Graham, I remember growing up. If you don't have a relationship with and you are in fear, remember, Jesus said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. See, Jesus will never leave white supremacy. Jesus will never leave Christianity. So if you are in fear right now due to this coronavirus, remember, Jesus will not leave us nor forsake us. Give your life to him and we will be saved from this. So that's why Trump wanted to call back for Easter originally. That is why originally evangelical pastors still had their church. Because again, what man has ever, white heterosexual man has ever been told they can't do something? And imagine if Obama was in power right now. But yet these pastors are getting sick and their congregations are walking away infested, which leaves you to have to scratch your head. Jesus will never leave us or forsake us, Christian brothers and sisters. They're going to worship and pray because they're not going to be afraid and stop due to this virus. Liberty University was boldly called back into session by Jerry Falwell Jr., one of Trump's right-hand evangelical leaders, with Franklin Graham. But yet it's said that of the 1,900 students who initially returned last week to campus, Mr. Falwell said more than 800 had already left because there were several cases of students found positive on his campus. And see, the alarm is there, but it is not there enough to push my white evangelicals to a place of having an ear to hear what I'm saying and what you've been saying of who the true chosen people are. And even if they're not to that place of embracing that, what about the fact, as I listened to a Republican governor pray, I had to turn it off because he prayed about all these sins of America, this and this, but he never once talked about pride, white supremacy, slavery, oppression, and injustice to people of color. Because we in America do not believe that that is a sin, because how can it be a sin when Christianity ordained white supremacy? But in this situation, I want to say to you, the precious chosen people of the Most High Yah, let's remember the confrontation between Baal and Elijah. And I'm going to end this word of encouragement with reading the very story of Elijah. When he was confronted by Baal at that time. This time, it will be Baal in the form of Christianity and the God of it. 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 20 to 40. And so Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel. Then Elijah stood in front of them and he said, "How much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions?" White evangelical America, how much will you keep hobbling between the lie of Christianity and the truth of the revelation of who Christianity has enslaved? If the Most High Yah, follow him, the great divide. But if Christianity, aka Baal, is your God, then follow him. But the people were completely silent. Then Elijah said to them, "I am the only prophet of the Most High Yah who is left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now bring 2 bulls. The prophets of Baal may choose first whichever one they wish, and cut it into pieces and lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting it. Then call on the name of your God of Christianity, and I will call on the name of the Most High Yah. And the God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the one and true living Most High Yah." And all the people agreed. Then Elijah went and said to the prophets of Baal, "Go first, for there are many of you. Choose one of the bulls and prepare it, and call on the name of your God. But do not set fire to the wood." So they prepared one of the bulls and they placed it on the altar. Then they called on the name of the God of Baal of Christianity from morning until noontime, shouting, "O God, answer us." But there was no reply of any kind. They continued to get sick. They continued to die. They continued to lie in thirst and hunger and of want and pain and misery. But their prophets danced, hobbling around from the altar they had made. And about noontime, Elijah began mocking them. "You have to shout louder," he scoffed, "for surely he is God." That's what you've taught us through these 400 plus years. Perhaps he is daydreaming, or he is relieving himself, or maybe he is away on a trip, or is asleep and needs to be woken. So they shouted louder, and they will pray more and more and more. And following their normal customs, they cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon until the time of evening sacrifice, but still there was no sound, no reply, and no response from the God of white Christianity. They began to lose their minds, cut themselves, suicide, harm themselves, depression, drugs, opiates, anything to begin to take away the pain of to why their God that they have worshiped is not showing up and showing out. They cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon, but yet not a sound, not a reply, not a word. Then Elijah called to the people, "Come over here." They all crowded around him as he repaired the altar of the Most High Yah that had been torn down. And he took the 12 stones, one to represent each of the 12 tribes of Israel, and he used the stones to rebuild the altar in the name of the Most High Yah, Yahweh. He then dug a trench around the altar large enough to hold water. And I'm missing a couple verses here. I'm so sorry. And it says 3 gallons of water. He piled wood on the altar. He cut the bowl into pieces and laid the pieces on the wood. Then he said, "Fill 4 large jars with water and pour the water over the offering and the wood." After they had done this, Elijah said, "Do the same thing again." And when they were finished, he said, "Now do it a 3rd time." So they did it as he said. And the water ran around the altar and even filled the trench. And at the usual time for offering the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet, the people of the Most High Yah, will walk up to the altar and pray, "O Most High Yah, Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you are our God, you and are our Father, that we are the true Hebrews, we are Israel, and that we are your servants. Prove that we have done all this at your command. O Most High Yah, answer us. Answer us, so these people will know that you, O Most High Yah, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Yahweh, the great I am, is the God and Lord of all." Then Elijah commanded, and then you, his people, commanded, and you cried out. And when all the people saw that the immediate move of the Most High Yah flashed down fire from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and it even licked up all the water in the trench, they fell to their face down upon the ground, and they cried out, "Your Lord, the Most High Yah, is the one and true living God, and you are the chosen people of the Most High Yah. But see, at that point, it might be too late for you to cleave. It may be too late for you, my Gentile family members, to escape. And that is why I say to you that while there is still time, I believe it's time for you as white evangelicals, don't take my word for it, but do some research yourself. Because there will be a great divide. There will be a great divide about to happen in this country. And you will either be with Elijah and his chosen people of today, our black brothers and sisters, or you will be with Christianity. And yes, unfortunately, in my heart, I also know that some of my Hebrew brothers and sisters will remain on the side of Christianity. You know, I was kicked out of a very prominent black denomination. I was an armor bearer to my pastor for several years, 8 years or more. And when I came into this truth, I mentioned this to him. He told me that even if this was truth, he would not share it with his people because it would make his people become arrogant and proudful. And then weeks later, I was immediately removed from the church, and all and every position was revoked because of this teaching, which goes against his teaching of Christianity. It's going to be a great divide. And I thank the Most High Yah that there are those of you out there that are wide awake. You know who you are. And you're spreading this truth to everybody. Because ultimately the Most High Yah is going to receive all the glory, the honor, and the praise. And that's going to come about when he redeems you, the apple of his eye, out of the hands of the religion in the country of white supremacy known as United States of America. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your love and your support. And I know I get several of you that your opinions of me are not always positive, and that's okay. That's all right. I may never be able to change your opinion, but your opinion is not what is going to judge my heart one day. Who judges me in my life is greater than those of you with your opinions. My judge comes from the Most High Yah himself, through his son Yahshua HaMashiach. And it is my desire to live my life for him. And when he tells me, I do. When he tells me go, I'll go. And when he says you can't have, I won't take. Because my desire is for him to look down upon my life each and every single day and say, well done, my good and faithful servant. It's one of my sons down there who I'm proud of. That's what I desire. So I pray that the words will give glory and honor to the Most High Yah, but in that process it will give some encouragement to my Hebrew brothers and sisters, and that it'll also give some conviction as the Spirit of truth goes into the hearts of my fellow evangelical, Gentile, Caucasian, Christian brothers and sisters, so that you can acknowledge, repent, and begin to repay and cleave before the true hardships of justice and judgment come upon us as a nation from the hand of the one and only true and living God, the Most High Yahweh. Please email me or reach out to me or support with the links at the top of this video. And until I come before you again, please remain safe. Thank you for joining with me Friday night. My brother and sister Jimmy and Sister Arlene will be presenting to us a Passover dinner for this Friday night's They Pray, We Rejoice night. So I hope you can join us for Friday night. They are recorded, so that if you cannot join us Friday night, then please join us when you can, because we can all be on one accord. Even though some of us may not be able to join on Friday night, if you join us throughout the week, we're all be on one accord. To love the Most High Yah with all our heart, mind, and soul, and to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to go out there and love those who need to know who they really are. So be blessed. Shalom and shalom.